The moment I saw his name on the wedding invitation, everything inside me snapped. Brandon Carter. My wife's affair partner. The man who'd torn my family apart and left me humiliated. And now, years later, he wasn't just still around, he was being honored as a guest at my daughter's wedding. My own daughter. I stood in the hallway holding the envelope, fingers trembling. For a second, I thought it was some sick joke. But the names were printed clear as day, Emma Dawson and Tyler Reynolds, together with their families. Families. What a funny joke. I picked up the phone and called Emma. She answered on the third ring, cheerful as ever, no idea she just dug into the most painful part of my past. Hey, Dad. Did you get the invite? I did, I said, voice low. And I have one question, Emma. Why the hell is he invited? Silence. I could almost hear her swallow. Dad, please don't do this now. Don't do what? Ask why you're letting the man who helped destroy our family sit in the front row of your wedding like it's just another normal Saturday. She hesitated. Then she said the line that burned itself into my skull forever. Because he makes Mom happy now. And I thought maybe, if you saw them together, you could let it go too. That was it. That was the moment I realized my daughter didn't just forget the past, she'd rewritten it. In her version, Mom didn't cheat. Mom didn't lie. Mom just found love again, with the guy who used to call her late at night while I lay next to her in bed, clueless. I gave Emma one condition. One final plea for respect. If he's there. I won't be. She paused. You don't mean that. I've never meant anything more. Fast forward to the big day. I wasn't there. No proud father walking her down the aisle. No speech. No teary hug at the reception. Just an empty chair where I should have been, and a man with a smug smile who got everything he wanted. Brandon looked right into the cameras that day. Arms around my ex-wife, Kelly. Wearing a custom-tailored suit. As if he hadn't shattered my world once before. As if none of it mattered. But here's what they didn't see. I had my own plans that day. Plans to make sure no one forgot what really happened. I sent Emma a letter. Not a long, emotional message. Just a photo. The last picture of me and Kelly before the betrayal. Her in my arms. Smiling. Lying. I wrote one sentence beneath it. Some fathers don't forget who stood by the betrayal. She didn't reply. Not for months. But that silence? That was the loudest response she could have given me. They thought I'd stay quiet forever. They were wrong. Because this story doesn't end with a wedding. It starts right here, with the truth about what happened before that happy photo op day. With what I discovered in the dark, what I confronted behind closed doors, and how the woman I loved turned into someone I couldn't even recognize. You want to know how I got here? Let me show you how betrayal really looks from a man's point of view. I didn't find out she was cheating because I went digging. I wasn't that guy, snooping through phones, reading messages in the middle of the night. I trusted her. That was my first mistake. Her name was Kelly Dawson, beautiful, ambitious, always the center of every room. For 20 years, I thought I had it all. The perfect wife. A daughter who made me proud. A home that felt like a fortress. But all that time, something dark had been growing behind my back. I just didn't see it. Until the night it hit me like a truck. It was a Thursday. Cold outside, rainy. I'd left work early to surprise her, thought maybe we could do something spontaneous, like we used to. I even stopped for her favorite wine and that stupid fancy cheese she liked. I walked through the door of our house grinning like a fool. The first red flag? Her car wasn't in the driveway. Odd. She always texted if she was staying late. But whatever, I figured she'd be back soon. Then I stepped into the kitchen, and her phone was there. Unlocked. Sitting on the counter. The screen lit up as I picked up the bottle of wine. Message preview. Brandon, last night was fire. Can't stop thinking about that thing you did. I froze. My heart didn't even race, it just stopped. I opened the thread. Dozens of messages. Photos. Voice notes. Her telling him what a coward I'd become. How I didn't touch her anymore, how she felt alive with him. Alive? That's what she called it. While I was working late to pay for her yoga retreats and organic meal plans, she was sneaking off with a steroid-loaded gym bro who probably couldn't spell commitment if it hit him in the face. The pictures. Her in a mirror, wearing lingerie I'd never seen. The kind of stuff she used to say was too trashy when I suggested it. Poses she never did for me, not once. She sent them to him. Like I was the stranger. Then I heard the garage door. She walked in, soaked from the rain, smile on her face, until she saw me standing there with her phone in my hand. We locked eyes. Everything stopped. "What's this?" I asked, holding up the phone like it was a weapon. And maybe it was. Her expression didn't crumble. It didn't even flicker. Instead, she shrugged. Shrugged. "Well," she said, tossing her purse onto the chair. "Guess you know now." No tears. No apology. No panic. Just pure, cold indifference. Like she'd been waiting for the day I'd catch up. "You've been doing this behind my back for how long?" I asked, barely keeping my voice steady. She smiled. That damn smile. "Does it matter?" she said. "You stopped being my husband a long time ago." Those words, they shattered something inside me. Because I hadn't stopped being her husband. I was there every damn day. Holding things together. Making sure our daughter had everything she needed. Keeping the roof over our heads. I wasn't the one sneaking around. I wasn't the one lying. "You let him into our life," I said. "You let him near our daughter." She rolled her eyes. "Don't be dramatic. Emma loves him. He's not going anywhere." And just like that, she dropped the nuke. She wasn't sorry. She didn't regret it. In her mind, she'd already replaced me, like I was a faulty appliance. I left that night. Took my keys, my pride, and a storm of rage that still hadn't settled. But I didn't just leave her. I left the version of myself that thought love meant loyalty. That believed some people were incapable of cruelty. That man? He died in that kitchen. And someone colder, sharper, and far less trusting took his place. I didn't sleep that night. I drove for hours. Just me, the hum of the engine, and a head full of betrayal. I ended up in a motel off the highway, one of those cheap places with flickering lights and paper-thin walls. But it was quiet. And for the first time in years, I had space to think. That's when it really hit me, I never knew the woman I married. I had spent 2 decades building a life with someone who wore a mask so well, I mistook it for her face. Kelly wasn't the woman I thought she was a master manipulator. A damn good liar. And now that the truth was out, she wasn't even pretending anymore. The next day, I got a text from her. "So what now? You gonna cry or are we gonna handle this like adults?" That was her. Cold. Arrogant. Acting like I was the problem. Like I'd overreacted to finding out she'd been rolling around with some sweaty trainer for months, maybe years. I didn't reply. What the hell was there to say? But 2 hours later, I got another message, this time from Emma. "Mom says you're freaking out and blowing things up. Can we just talk?" I hate this. That was the worst part of all of it, how Kelly was already poisoning our daughter's view of me. Twisting the narrative before I even had a chance to speak. She wanted Emma to see me as unstable, overdramatic, weak. I picked up the phone and called Emma. "Sweetheart," I said, trying to keep my voice calm, "I need you to know something. Your mom's been having an affair. For a while now. I found out last night." There was a pause on the line. Long uncomfortable. Then. I know. My heart dropped. What do you mean, you know? I figured it out months ago, she said quietly. They weren't exactly subtle. I saw messages once when she left her iPad open. But Mom said it wasn't a big deal. That they were just friends at first. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. She told you before she told me? Emma hesitated again. She said you'd make it worse if you found out. That you'd fall apart. Fall apart. That's how Kelly sold it. Like I was some fragile old man who couldn't handle the truth. Not a husband. Not a father. Just a liability she was phasing out. That was when I decided, I needed to see her face to face. One last time. The next evening, I went back to the house. I didn't knock. I still had a key. And legally, half that house was mine. When I walked in, she was in the kitchen, same place where everything had come crashing down. Wearing leggings. Sipping wine. No remorse in her posture. No shame in her eyes. Well, look who came crawling back, she said without even turning around. I didn't rise to it. I just stood there and let the silence stretch. You know, she added, swirling her wine, this didn't have to be ugly. If you just accepted the reality of things, we could have kept this civil. I stared at her. You mean, if I'd accepted being cheated on, lied to, and replaced without a fight? She looked at me then, finally. Don't be so dramatic. You were boring, Daniel. Predictable. He made me feel wanted again. I could have screamed. I could have smashed something. But instead, I nodded. You're right, I said quietly. I was boring. Because I believed in loyalty. I believed in family. I believed in you. She scoffed. Well, that was your mistake. And in that moment, I saw her for what she truly was. Not the woman I fell in love with. Not the mother of my child. But a heartless, manipulative woman who fed on control and watched people crumble for fun. That was the last time I spoke to her without lawyers involved. From that day on, I wasn't her husband, I was her enemy. Something inside me flipped that night. Not out of rage, but clarity. I finally understood the game Kelly had been playing all along. This wasn't just about betrayal. It was about power. About her trying to control the narrative, make herself the victim, and turn everyone, including our daughter, against me while she played house with her side piece. But I wasn't going to let her win. Not anymore. The next morning, I called my lawyer, Tony Green. Old friend. Sharp as a scalpel. No BS. She cheated, I said. And she's flaunting it now. I want out. And I want to make sure she doesn't walk away with everything. Tony didn't even pause. You ready to go scorched earth? Light the match. For weeks, things got ugly. Kelly wasn't prepared for me to fight back. She thought I'd just roll over like I always did, keep paying the bills, keep my mouth shut, keep being predictable. But I went surgical. I froze the joint accounts. Took my name off the car lease. Rewrote my will. Removed her from everything that mattered. Then I started gathering evidence. Tony told me what to look for: photos, messages, timestamps. Anything that could show the affair had been happening while we were still married, not just after we grew apart, like she told everyone. Turns out, Kelly wasn't as smart as she thought. She'd backed up her phone to the cloud. Every selfie with Brandon, every disgusting message, every calendar entry for their secret hotel meetups, it was all there. The day I showed Emma that evidence was the day she stopped defending her mother. She cried. Quietly. She didn't yell, didn't lash out. She just whispered, I didn't know it was that bad. I nodded. She used you to protect herself, Emma. She knew if you accepted it, I'd be forced to shut up. And for the first time since the whole thing started, Emma looked ashamed of Kelly. It hurt, watching my daughter go through that. But it was necessary. Because the truth needed to be seen, not just told. Meanwhile, Kelly tried every trick in the book. She called me selfish. Told people I was emotionally unstable since the split. Even tried to play the mental health card in court to get leverage over the house. But Tony was relentless. Every time she lied, he had a receipt. Every time she twisted the story, we snapped it back with cold facts. Her facade began to crack. Her voice in emails became more frantic. Her smugness in court? Gone. Now she was scrambling, trying to spin a story while the whole damn thing unraveled. And Brandon? That coward disappeared the second things got serious. She'd thrown away 20 years for a man who ghosted her the moment there was real heat. No texts. No support. No showing up to court with her like he used to show up in our driveway, pretending to be just a friend. She was alone now. And for the first time, she looked scared. Good. I didn't want revenge. That's not what this was about. I wanted justice. I wanted dignity. I wanted the truth to matter, even if no one but me and Emma ever knew it. And slowly, I was taking that back. By the end of the hearings, I had the house. Half the retirement. Visitation on my terms. Kelly walked out of court like someone had pulled the rug from under her. But I didn't smile. Because this wasn't a victory parade. This was a funeral, for the life I thought I had. And I wasn't done yet. Because betrayal doesn't just break a marriage. It breaks the man inside it. And now that man was putting himself back together, piece by piece. Not to win her back, but to become someone she could never touch again. 3 months after the court hearings, after the house was legally mine and she was legally out, I thought I'd finally close the door on that chapter of my life. Then she knocked. Literally. It was a Friday night, around 10 p.m. I was on the couch, glass of bourbon in hand, halfway through a documentary I wasn't even watching. I heard the knock, slow and soft, like someone who wasn't sure they had the right to be there. I opened the door, and there she was. Kelly. Hair pulled back, makeup smudged, mascara running. Not the icy, smug version I'd seen in court. This one looked fragile. Not broken. But bruised. Like the world had slapped her harder than she expected. "What do you want?" I asked, not moving an inch from the doorway. She blinked, her voice quiet. "Can we talk?" I should have slammed the door. But curiosity is a dangerous drug. So I let her in. She stepped into the living room like she didn't know where anything was anymore. Good. That space wasn't hers now. It was mine. She stood there awkwardly, arms crossed. "Brandon left," she finally said, eyes darting away. I didn't react. "He got someone else pregnant," she added, like that was supposed to sting. It didn't. In fact, I almost laughed. She sat down on the edge of the armchair, careful not to touch anything. "I messed up," she whispered. "No kidding." Her voice cracked a little. I thought I was chasing happiness. Something exciting. Something new. But I lost everything. That part, at least, was true. "You didn't just lose everything," I said. "You burned it. On purpose." She nodded. No excuses this time. No attitude. Just quiet guilt. And then, unbelievably, she said the words that nearly made me choke. "I miss us." I looked her dead in the eyes. "There is no us, Kelly. You killed that." Repeatedly. "You stabbed it, then told everyone I tripped and fell on the knife." Her expression faltered. I was scared. Of what? Monogamy? Boredom? You had a family. A husband. A home. And you traded it all for gym selfies and hotel rooms. She tried to reach for my hand. I pulled away. "Don't," I said. "Don't come back here like you're the victim. You didn't trip and fall into someone else's bed." You chose it. Every single time. And that's when she cried. Real tears. Not the manipulative kind, at least, they didn't feel like it. But I didn't flinch. I just sat there and watched. You should go, I said after a moment. She didn't argue. She just nodded, stood up slowly, and walked to the door. But right before she left, she turned back. Emma knows everything now. And she's mad at me. I don't know how to fix it. You can't, I said coldly. Because some damage doesn't get fixed. It just gets remembered. She stared at me for a second longer. Like she wanted to say something. Like she wanted to beg. But she didn't. She left. And I stood there in the silence she used to fill with lies. I didn't feel triumph. I didn't feel revenge. I felt freedom. That night was the first time I slept without waking up in the middle of the night thinking about what I could have done differently. Because I knew now, I'd done everything I could. She just didn't deserve it. What surprised me most wasn't that she came crawling back. It was that I didn't feel tempted, not even for a second. I was done with her. Done with the lies. The games. The manipulation. And I was finally beginning to remember who I was before she broke me. It was a Sunday afternoon when Emma called again. Her voice was different this time. Shaky, uncertain, like she was walking a tightrope between two cliffs. Dad, she said, can we talk? Just you and me? Of course, I replied. What's going on? I want you to come to dinner. Mom will be there too. But I need you there. I need both of you to hear me out. I paused. My chest tightened. Going to dinner with Kelly after everything that had happened felt like volunteering to walk barefoot through glass. But I heard something in Emma's voice I hadn't heard in a long time: pain. Confusion. She was trying to understand, trying to process what had been done to our family. I agreed. Not for Kelly. For my daughter. That evening, I walked into a place that used to be my home. Now it felt like a crime scene dressed up as a memory. Emma was already at the dining table. Nervous. She smiled when she saw me and came in for a hug. That hug reminded me why I had survived the storm. She was the anchor I didn't know I needed. Kelly came down the stairs a few minutes later, wearing a neutral expression. Not smug this time. Not hostile. Just tired. We sat. The silence between us was thick, dense with words unsaid and truths too sharp to touch. Emma didn't waste time. I need to know what happened, she said, looking at both of us. Not the sugar-coated version. Not the fake, we just grew apart, crap. The truth. Kelly stiffened. Emma. No, Mom. I'm serious. I spent the last few years thinking Dad just gave up. That he left you. That he broke our family. But now. I know that's not what happened. She looked at me. Dad, I'm ready to hear it. I took a breath. And then I told her everything. Not to be cruel. Not to shame her mother. But because she deserved the truth after years of being fed filtered stories and fake smiles. I told her about the late nights. The messages. The voice notes. The moment I picked up Kelly's phone and heard a man talk about her like she was some prize he'd won behind my back. I told her how I left the house not because I didn't love them, but because staying meant killing the last piece of dignity I had left. Kelly didn't say a word. When I finished, Emma turned to her. Is it true? Kelly looked down at her hands. Yes, she whispered. Emma sat back, eyes glassy. Why? Kelly shrugged. I felt unseen. Unwanted. I thought Brandon made me feel alive again. I scoffed quietly. And now? Emma asked. Kelly looked up, tears forming. Now I realize I ruined everything for something that was never real. Emma nodded. Slowly. Good, she said. Because I need you to know, I lost respect for you the day I learned the truth. And if it weren't for Dad, I wouldn't even be sitting here right now. Kelly tried to speak, but Emma cut her off. No more lies. No more playing victim. You don't get to control the story anymore. The silence that followed was different from all the others. This one was clean. Empty. Like a wound finally closed up. After dinner, Emma walked me to my car. Thank you for telling me, she said. I needed to hear it from you. I nodded. I never wanted to drag you into this, Em. But you deserve the truth. She hugged me tight. I'm proud of you, Dad. And those 5 words? They healed something in me I didn't even know was broken. I drove away that night not in pain, but in peace. Because for the first time since my world fell apart, I wasn't carrying it alone. My daughter finally knew who I was, and who her mother really was. And the truth, as bitter as it had been to swallow, finally set us both free. Something changed after that dinner. Not just in me, but in Emma too. She didn't look at her mother the same way anymore. And while I hated that she had to see the truth, I also knew it was necessary. You can't heal a wound while pretending it doesn't exist. 2 weeks later, I made my final move. I decided to sell the house. The same house I had fought so hard to keep, the one filled with echoes of laughter, birthday candles, movie nights, and betrayal. It was more than just bricks and wood. It was a battlefield. And I was done living in the middle of my own scars. When I called Tony to start the process, he asked, "You sure about this? You spent months fighting for that house." I fought to prove a point, I said. Now I'm walking away to reclaim my peace. Kelly didn't take the news well. She showed up again, this time angry. You can't sell our house. It's not our house, I said calmly. It's my house. And I'm choosing not to live in a museum of betrayal. You're doing this to spite me. No. I'm doing this to move on. For once, she had no response. She stormed off like a child denied candy. And I stood there, finally unaffected. Packing was easier than I expected. Most of the things that mattered, photos of Emma, childhood drawings, books I loved, they fit into a few boxes. Everything else was just clutter. Memories I didn't need. Echoes of lies. I donated most of it, torched some, and left the rest behind. I moved into a small place near the lake. Quiet. Simple. Nothing fancy. But it was mine. No ghosts. No hidden phone calls. No pretending. Emma helped me set it up. We didn't talk much while we worked, but the silence between us wasn't awkward. It was healing. She looked around the living room once we were done. You seem lighter, she said. I feel it, I replied. For the first time in years. Then she sat down across from me and said something that caught me off guard. I'm not inviting Mom to my wedding anymore. I blinked. Emma, you don't have to do that for me. I'm not doing it for you, she said firmly. I'm doing it for me. I've realized she's never owned up to what she did. She's never truly apologized. And I don't want that kind of energy standing next to me when I start my own family. I didn't respond right away. I just looked at her, my daughter, a grown woman now, standing up for herself. For the truth. I felt proud. More than proud. I felt seen. Later that week, Kelly tried one last time. A long email this time. Rambling. Contradictory. Part apology, part blame. She said she missed the life we had. That she'd do anything to go back. That maybe, if I wasn't so cold, we could still fix things. I didn't reply. Because there's nothing left to fix when someone's burned the bridge, then danced on the ashes. Instead, I archived the email. No rage. No dramatic response. Just quiet, final closure. The night before Emma's wedding, I sat alone on the dock behind my new place, watching the moonlight ripple across the lake. A cool breeze passed through, and for the first time in what felt like forever, I didn't feel like a broken man. I felt whole. Not because someone else fixed me, but because I faced the storm, took the hits, and rebuilt myself. And I realized something. You can survive betrayal. You can survive being lied to, replaced, humiliated. You can even survive losing someone you thought you couldn't live without. What you can't survive is staying stuck in a place that no longer respects your worth. And that's what this journey was really about. Letting go. Letting go of the lies, the pain, the shame. And choosing yourself, even when no one else does. The wedding day arrived with perfect skies. Blue, endless, peaceful, nothing like the chaos I had lived through in the years leading up to it. Emma looked radiant. Not just in the dress, but in her eyes. There was strength there now. Maturity. A calm I hadn't seen in her before. She'd made it through hell with her parents' divorce, the betrayal, the lies, and still managed to come out glowing. She didn't walk down the aisle with her mother. She asked me. "I want you by my side, Dad," she said. "Because you never left me. Even when it hurt." No words could describe how that felt. As we stood together before the ceremony, her hand in mine, she whispered something that froze me. "I know you were hurting all that time. I used to think you were just cold and distant. But now I see it, you were surviving." My throat tightened. I smiled, trying not to break down like a fool in front of her. "I wasn't always strong, Emma. Some days I wanted to give up. But you didn't," she said. "That's why I'm proud to have you walk me down that aisle." And we did. Step by step. Past people who knew bits and pieces of our story, some who judged, others who didn't care. But all I saw was her. My daughter. My redemption. Kelly didn't come. She wasn't invited. And more importantly, she didn't try. I think she knew she'd burned that bridge beyond repair. Emma had made her decision. Not out of hatred, but out of clarity. She finally saw who had been protecting the family, and who had been tearing it apart from the inside out. The reception was beautiful. Music. Laughter. A kind of joy that didn't feel forced. The kind I hadn't experienced in years. Tyler, her husband, pulled me aside after dinner. "Thank you," he said. "For raising her right. She's the strongest person I know." I smiled. She raised herself more than I did. I just tried not to let her fall. Then came the speeches. When it was my turn, I stood up with a glass of champagne in hand. The crowd quieted. All eyes on me. And I spoke not just as her father, but as a man who'd come through a war and found peace on the other side. "Marriage isn't perfect," I began. "It's not always pretty. And sometimes, people you love will hurt you in ways you didn't think were possible. But love isn't proven by staying with someone who breaks you. It's proven by how you rise after you've been broken." I looked at Emma. To my daughter, who didn't let someone else's mistakes define her view of love. And to Tyler, who sees her for who she is and never asks her to be less. People applauded. Some wiped tears. But all I felt was release. I had said what needed to be said. Not just for Emma. But for me. After the party, when the last of the lights dimmed and guests trickled away, I stood by my car, staring up at the stars. And for the first time, I felt like everything had come full circle. Kelly was gone. The pain had passed. The lies had lost their grip. And what remained, what endured, was truth. A truth I had fought for, bled for, nearly lost myself for. But it was worth it. Because truth, once embraced, sets you free in ways that vengeance never will. So, if you're reading this, if you're living this, hear me when I say this. Don't stay silent. Don't let betrayal define you. Don't let someone else's lies bury your worth. You're stronger than the worst thing that ever happened to you. You're more than the pain they left behind. And one day, when you least expect it, you'll look around and realize you made it out. And you never needed them to survive.